the camera up here. Hang on. Get myself plugged in. Set up. You'd think I'd have. Not really. Man, I wish I knew what I was doing. Get the other phone going so I can see what you guys are saying. Do we have it? Maybe? Hey, now we got it. I'll be right back. My neighbor's doing something funny. Somebody's getting a tow next door. When you hear strange noises over at the neighbor, you wonder what the heck is going on. Somebody's getting a tow next door. Might as well hook my car up too. So what's going on with you guys tonight? I mean, I don't have a whole lot, so let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. Assuming it's sort of relevant, of course. Just gonna put some stuff away here while we're waiting. I got the 385 running today with some level of difficulty. Thoughts on the 462? Not really. I don't know. I'm just not the guy to do these the newer saws. I barely even ran a 562, let alone some of these newer steels and what. I don't know. The preliminary results, I mean, look pretty cool. Just not my area of expertise. I like something you can tinker with, you know. With the now, tree guys are different. You know, you have these people that do this stuff professionally. It is a very different ball game than the hobby crowd. So if you are, and because I've been out with tree crews, I know what they do, and you don't want to be messing around with tuning stuff. You literally need a saw to cut, and that's it. So I imagine that the more hassle-free, the more powerful in a light package, less anti-vibe, um, or less vibrations, all that stuff adds up to something that will be great with a tree service. I'm sure the 462 and the 57 from Steel and the 572 from Husky are going to be big hits, assuming they have all the bugs ironed out. Does that count as thoughts? I don't personally have any interest in taking those apart and putting them back together and all that. At least not yet. I really am not that interested in taking apart auto tune saws. For the most part, with all the 372s, 394s, 346 XPs in the world, I've got plenty to do. Big Dad Trav, who are you? I don't think I've seen you on the channel before. Welcome. There's a rock in here. In the screw itself. In the itself. I don't know if I'm going to get that out. Gold level Steel Tech. That's impressive. Then what are you doing on my channel? We do the backwoods stuff around here. Welcome just the same. I don't know. I assume you see it too. If you're a steel tech down in Virginia, your tree guys that come in and they would need stuff that cuts like day in and day out and day in and day out and day in and day out. And the less they visit you, the better. At least that would probably be their attitude, you know. So maybe the 462 will fill the bill. I have a sneaky. Hey Ken, can't be further back in the sticks to be. Okay. I'm kind of wondering that a lot of people are going to skip right over the 462 and go to the 500 fuel injection. If it's not that much more money, they might just go for that type of thing. I don't know if that's going to be novelty or what. Check that out. Right, the tree guys. I got my buddy Danny that was here. I remember him saying, about a mower. He's like, I just needed to cut. Well, just needed to cut is a very complex sentence sometimes. It's way more complicated than anybody could possibly imagine. So I know very well that there is a very big difference between the hobby world where I live and tree guys, effectively. I put that screw in last night, but it's not the right screw. This is the correct screw. Did it work? Yes. Is it the correct one? No. So I don't like things that are not complete and even and all that other stuff. Logically compromised. Basically, the plan tonight is to talk about what you guys want to talk about. Because I don't have a particular plan. I'm tired, even though I didn't do much today. I got this 385 to run. Actually, I'll show you guys if you want to see it. So it definitely runs. I think it needs a little bit of break-in time before I give it back to the owner. They sucked. The 500i's suck to work on. Well, but that's the thing, field repairs for chainsaw guys. I mean, or tree guys. If you're a tree guy, you're not sharpening a chain on the job. Most guys aren't out there sharpening chains. They might change a chain in a day, but odds are not. They just keep running it. Maybe they change it at night. I don't know. Some of these guys just work, and there is no such thing as a field repair. Something breaks or whatever, they either put down the saw or, keep using it until it literally does nothing. And deal with the consequences later. So, in that respect, there's field repairs don't happen really anyway. And if anything goes wrong, pull start cord comes out. The saw sits on a shelf. Maybe this is a perfectly good top end. Maybe it's not. But pull cord is not going to run. All kinds of stuff put saws on shelves. $13 people here tonight. Who's here? Take out the spare saw. Yeah, and a lot of guys don't have them too, which kills me. It's like, if you're a tree guy, you better have a truck full of saws and a really good repair guy on the other end, because you're going to be using them, you're going to be breaking them. Logically compromised. I bring a couple of loops, a side job, sharpen them if dull when you get home. It's important to maintain the same plans with sharpening. A vise helps us immensely. Yeah, having a sharp chain is key. I think, but I look at things differently. I just do. You think that if you're a tree service or tree company, that this is your livelihood right here, and you want a sharp chain all the time. I don't know. I like to keep chains really sharp if at all possible, so I'm always touching things up. Sharpening is important. It's really important, and I like to touch things up very carefully, but I am not the best sharpener in the world. Uh, I can sharpen a chain and show my dad, and he'll be like, "No, this is the way you do it." And it's frustrating. Gotta have stuff that cuts. I actually have a 150T. Technically, I own it. Discuss takers with a guy. He was amazed. You mean rakers? Yeah. Have the 150T? I technically share with my dad. He loves that thing. In case you guys want to talk at me tonight, can you see me now? Yeah, the tiny chain. It is tiny. I think we actually have 1/8 inch files to sharpen that thing. I don't even. I'm not even sure they're worth sharpening. But they cut real smooth. If you're cutting apple trees or something like that, if you're trying to trim stuff, that'd be great. I'd love to try the 2511. Um, Onan 18. I've talked with him a number of occasions about it, and he seems to really like it and like the way that it's designed anyway. And so I'd love to play with it, fiddle with it. I mean, it's more economical for sure. The steel was nearly $500. If you're in the South, do not know how to sharpen a chain, you're a city slicker. See, I don't even have a raker gauge. I probably should, but I don't. When I do rakers, I just lightly touch them, and I lightly touch the chain teeth too. Often I'm taking chains though. If I've got, let's say, a customer's saw, if somebody comes in, they want me to rebuild their saw, I make sure the chain gets sharpened, and in which case then I'm taking down the rakers a bit because I'm putting the cutters back because they're really rounded over. Go get you the steel 043 chain. I have it, or it's at my dad's. That's the tiny chain that comes with the what was it, the 150T. But I need to then add about $80 to run a 1/4 inch sprocket and 043 narrow curve chain. The European market gets 1/4 inch sprocket OEM. 56 versus 40, 3/8 L low pro. Yeah, we have the tiny chain, whatever, 1/4 inch 043, whatever. I think that's it. It's the 1/4 inch 043. It takes like an 1/8 inch thick file to sharpen it. It's a smooth chain. It's a smooth chain. Yeah, used it. It's smooth. So this chain is still pretty good, but it's cutting a little bit to the right. So it means these are cutting good and these are not cutting quite so good. So I may just touch these just a hair. What the devil happened there? The tooth got rounded up. How did that happen? That one too. Great. I hope you get the jobs and get the echo. That'd be cool. Hate sharpening 28-inch chains. Now, you are never supposed to use a flat file on the top of the tooth, but when you've got something that's rounded up, Violet blades. Yeah, I don't actually need them. That's the thing. For the kind of work that I do, just take an even number of swipes on both sides. Make sure it's really friggin' sharp. This is really nice looking. And this chain has very little time on it. I wouldn't mind having one. It's just I don't know. I've never found much use for one. What I did recently get were these Save Edge files, the Raker files. I got like a pack of 12 or whatever off of eBay for $50. And supposedly you could actually send them back to Save Edge and get them resharpened. That's pretty cool. I don't know how worth it that is, but I thought it was interesting. Well, what you're probably supposed to do is find out what the shortest tooth is for length, and then basically file that whole side to that, and then adjust the rakers appropriately. I've just never found a need to be quite that exact. And again, this chain has almost no time on it, so taking 5 swipes on either side should be fine. But that is really friggin' sharp. That's probably what you're supposed to do. I'm usually a little too lazy to do that. And I find that I don't know. I don't think I've ever done it. Have I ever done that? Be nice to actually like get a caliper and measure each one, and then that's a lot of time to spend on the chain. I don't need to do that. If I was making a competition chain or a race chain, that would make more sense. Maybe for one of the next get-togethers, I'll file one that's a little nicer. Then again, I don't wear my chains down to nubbins, you know? It is to each tooth height. Yeah, so you basically find the length of the tooth, you find the shortest one, you file each one to that length, whatever that, and the easier way to do that is with a grinder. I think you'd probably be a little bit more exact with a grinder, but you find the length of the tooth, the shortest one, grind each tooth on that whole side to that, and then adjust the rakers all to that. That would make the most sense to me. And then each tooth is cutting to the right depth. And then on the other side, you need to essentially do the same thing. The teeth do not necessarily need to be the same length, I don't think. They just need to cut the same with the depth gauge. If I'm wrong, please correct me on that. And Milkman, I don't use 404. I don't have any need for it. Even for 36-inch bars, there's no real need for to have 404. Dust versus Quaker Oats. I want cornflakes, damn it. These topics like chains and oil and whatnot, I generally stay away from a lot of the debates. Jeff, R.I. Chevy, was complaining about the smoke from the oil that I use at the last get together. But my saws were pretty fast, so what am I using for oil? Something that's blue. Do I need to switch? No. No real need to. The way I use my saws, I'm never going to wear one out. Certainly not because of the oil. I've got just a cheap chain grinder, and I really only use it if, well, in the middle of the winter, if I save a bunch of chains up, I'll use it. If I've got a really rock chain, then I'll use it. But you do have to be careful. You can really, unless you're using a CBN wheel, which I know more guys are coming out with, but unless you're using a CBN wheel, it's pretty darn easy to blue the tip. You have to be real careful about that. Take the temper out, and then it goes dull in a hurry. And believe it or not, this is like some no-name file that I found off of eBay, a lot on eBay. Like, it's called Woody's or something like that. Feels pretty good. On these teeth, anyway. These teeth seem like just the right hardness. This is Oregon LGX. Motor oil works great, saving me money. Okay. Some stump chains. Could have a dumpster. If you cannot handle the metal, it's gotten too hot. Interesting. Yeah, somewhere like 150, you have to pull your hand away. Well, I'm back to the original one. I really don't like sharpening 28-inch full comp. 5 swipes, no problem, but anything else, ew. So here's my flat file for save edge. So I'll do a couple of swipes. This wasn't super grabby chain to begin with, so, and I was in pine. And that's it. I've got that side sharp. That is sharp. Tilt the cam down. Hi, Ralph. Who are you? I haven't seen you on the channel before. Yeah, one of the guys that comes to the get-togethers shows up with like a GB bar or something like that. He's got carbon in the center of it. Man, is it light! That thing's fun. Let me swap this around here. Ooh. Tim, you got that right. It's a good point. We're on the same chain all day long, as long as you just touch it up a bit. When's the next get together? I don't know. I had that question last night, the night before. Unfortunately, I don't know. Dan usually runs the get togethers in Norwich, and he does a great job of it. I know he's busy right now. He's changed jobs and this and that, so I don't know if he's doing a fall one. I have not heard of it. Brian Barrow has had one in Northern Connecticut, I think. I have not gone to that. I've not gotten up to there. And I would love to host myself. I just don't have a great facility for it here. I don't have the acreage, and I do have neighbors. So my neighbors are really nice, but 20 chainsaws showing up is probably not going to cut it for them. The chainsaw's not on the screen. You want the chainsaw on the screen? Okay, fine. You're in Brooklyn. Okay. I used to work in Norwalk, and I live in Farmington, so up by Hartford. The best way to figure out when the get-togethers are is get on the forums, either OPE or Arborist site or both, and there are sections for get-togethers, and you'll be able to see when the next Connecticut get-together is. Usually they announce it a few months in advance. Really wasn't planning on sharpening a chain while talking to you guys tonight. But that's fine. I really rather hear from you guys and hear what you guys are up to. Is anybody building anything? Yeah, Farmington River is fun. Raise bees, fish, tree work, yep. Hey Steve, haven't seen you here in a bit. How are you? Everything good up there up north? Only use a grinder. You know, I have my grinder, but mine's cheap. You have a much better grinder than I do, Steve. You have the Tacoma one, right? If I remember right. And by the way, Steve, you're exactly right. I don't get into cut angles and all that stuff and oil. I generally don't have that discussion. But I did want to mention what you mentioned before about the oil, which is interesting. And you said something about Walt saying that oil actually adds power because it lessens friction, right? So I did have a little anecdote. It's just an anecdote. When I was in dental school, I went to school with the grandson of the guy that invented the lube-free ceramic bearing for dental handpieces. So if anybody is interested in that, Star Titan dental handpieces run at 400,000 RPM. So if anybody isn't at least a little freaked out, you're allowed to be. But the point being is I remember him saying very specifically, lube slows you down. Now you can lube the handpieces, but technically they are lube free. At that speed anyway, lube slows you down. How's that for interesting? I'll leave you there with that thought. I will build that echo when I get it. Okay. Hey, William Eisen. Hey, William. Where are you from? Swimming Brambles High from Scotland. Hello. That's awesome. I I just have to mention something because Tim Tim Freeman you cracked me up the other day. No, it was Ken. Was Tim? You always crack me up anyway, but no, it was Ken. Um, Ken texted me and wanted me to know, or to let him know, what time I was coming on, because he wanted to make sure that he was around for it. And I'll tell you what, guys, I am getting the biggest kick out of this because I'm having a hard time believing that anybody takes me this seriously, because I just don't take myself this seriously. I was telling this to my wife, and she understood that. She can't believe anybody else takes me seriously either. Right, there is a Scotland, Connecticut. Good point. You're down in North Carolina. You guys okay down there, William? In terms of reducing temperatures and pregnancy, saw chain lube is better, but in terms of less friction, motor oil is better. Apparently, the oil increases combustion pressure, but not used to reduce friction. Well, increases combustion pressure. How could it? Well, does it actually combust? If it doesn't combust, then technically speaking, then there's less fuel in the burn, right? And therefore less power. No, I don't know. I'm not an expert. It's just these are my random musings. No, Ken, you're living the dream, of course. William, I'm glad you're safe down there. Keep your saws sharp. It's hurricane season. God knows. More explosive than gasoline. So the oil once it's burned is more explosive than gasoline once it finally combusts. Just so you guys know, I'm over here because I'm reading comments. Well, welcome, William. I'm getting a kick out of this live stuff, and tonight we're not doing anything particular. I just happen to be sharpening a chain to pass the time while I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, Ken, you don't have to live vicariously through me. You're already living the dream, buddy. Actually, I feel a lot like Red Green here, tying flies. At the end of the episode. And just so everybody knows, I'm just touching this chain up. It cut a little to the right, so I just wanted to make sure everything was really sharp and the rakers were adjusted. Just so everybody knows, and for new people here, I don't take chains that seriously. I don't take oil that seriously. Steve Rob knows I'm not. Don't get into arguments about that sort of stuff. I don't want to start arguments. I want to learn. That's fine. Learning's good. We have a lot of divisive arguments in the country right now, and I've been seeing a lot of Facebook posts and stuff, and we have trouble coming in the country because we have so many people that are just at each other's all the time. It's not good. Everybody's supposed to sharpen chains together and do some cutting together and have a good time. Dude West. Hang on. Why do you like skip chain? Because skip chain, I don't have to file as much. It's much faster to file. At least on the longer bars. On a 20-inch, I'm fine with full comp on 20-inch. But 24-inch and larger, I like skip chain just because it's faster to file. If you rock something, it's faster to file. That's just me. This happens to be full comp 28. Are there trees in Oklahoma? Yeah, actually there are big trees in Oklahoma. My in-laws have pecan trees, and they need to be taken. And man, I'm happy I had a 36-inch bar down there. Yeah, so I shipped 3 saws down there, a 350, 372, and a 394, and I'm really happy that I had them when I was down there. The big trees in Connecticut too. William, just so you know, I'm in Farmington. I don't know if you're asking me or not. Farmington, Connecticut, that is. Dude West, hey Matt, you get through the 394, 394. Yes and no. You missed my thing this morning. I went. I found uh, a wire. I found the actual a brand new kill wire, and I went to put that in this morning, and I noticed that the butterfly on the carburetor was not fully closing. So I pulled the carburetor off and found out that the butterfly was out of position. So I had to reposition that, get the carburetor back together. What else did I do while I was in there? Changed out a couple of bolts while I was in there. Kind of neatened it up a little bit. I'm still waiting on that darn ignition coil. I've not had confirmation yet that it shipped. Waiting on that. It's been back ordered. Yeah, I do like red green. The funniest red green that I ever saw was the coffee episode. He says, you get some of your favorite blend and you put it on the duct tape and roll it around your arm, and you've made yourself a caffeine patch. I think that was the funniest thing ever. That was great. Ralph, greeting from Ohio. Howdy. Be making a Dokita 7900 from 3 junk saws. Awesome. I've never built a 7900. I don't know if I'll get to it. Maybe. Don't know. Suches, Georgia. Okay. Hey, Connor. Watching from New York. Howdy. Do we eat possums? No. We see them fairly often. I was working on my Volvo one night here in my drive. I don't have a garage, so just in my driveway. Working on the Volvo one night, and I was doing the radiator or something. I had torn apart the whole radiator and had a leak or something. I put a new radiator in. It was like midnight, and I happened to glance over, and there's a possum nearly walking up to me. I told him, I was like, dude, you were in the wrong spot. You better turn around and walk away. The other white meat. No, I'm not going to eat them. I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. What did I pay for the 20-inch Tsujihara bar? A lot. Salvatore, howdy. Lawnmower coffee blend. Yeah, it was a good episode. Yeah, I get these from HL Supply. I have a special deal with them, so I won't tell you what I paid, but these are pricey bars. But I figured, I'm gonna try to convert everything that I have over to the Tsujiharas. They're available through HL Supply. That's where I get them. Do I ever work on Echo backpack blowers? No. I don't know if I'm going to get into backpacks. I just, I'm not a small engine mechanic. I'm just a guy doing a YouTube channel that happens to be, dare I say it, addicted to chainsaws. This is more habit than hobby, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I like the bar. I do. Supposedly, the tips are a little weak if you're doing bore cutting all day. They're probably not the one you want to do, but for bucking firewood, this bar will last me friggin' forever. Well, Connor, two issues with the bars. Technically, it is better steel than the other bars. Number one, and number two, you can make all your buddies jealous at the get-togethers because they look cool. Why not? Ever mess with the F-Co John Deere? No. Yeah, I've now got a little collection going. I got a 32, a 28. I have a 24 on the way and a couple of 20s. And a 16 for my. I really like the 16-inch bar on a 346 XP or the 3 Husky 350s. Love the 16-inch bar on that 66 drive link 325050. That setup, it balances perfect. It's a nice setup on a 350. William, what do you do for a living? I was a dentist. Can I have permission to post a link to my saw build? If you wish. As long as it's family friendly. So, William, the overall answer to that question is a little more complex. So, I am a dentist. I am currently in process of finding a new dental home. Um, I'm doing interviews and whatnot to see if I can find some place closer to home at this point. I was working at my parents' office. My dad is a dentist in Norwalk, and he was doing it. He's been there since like 1988, and he's been a dentist since the early 70s. And I was working with them for 12 years, and uh, I came to the conclusion that that was time to end. So now I'm have time to do the live events, and I'm now in the process of looking for work. So one of the big issues, and this isn't the only one, but one of the big issues was my parents' office is 60 miles away from my house, so it was a 120-mile round trip every day. And the distance isn't a problem as long as traffic is no big deal, but traffic was killing me, and I was falling asleep at the wheel. I've had some close calls, and I wanted to avoid that. So I'm looking definitely to shorten my commute, which means I need to find someplace a little closer to home. And my wife has a job fairly close to here that is what at least I would consider a very stable job. So moving down to Norwalk just wasn't happening. If that makes any sense. It's a very complex answer. The chat was not. I don't know how to allow you a link here logically. If somebody wants to see his build, you can just go to his page. Keep making Farmer Tech build videos. Okay. Parrot Parkway, love that traffic. Yeah, right. Sleeping with the wheel, no fun. I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing the Farmer Tech stuff. Not because I don't like it, but I just don't have a need for it. So I don't personally I don't need any more chainsaws. I have a bunch of saws. Um, I'm not that guy that's gonna have 100. I just don't need it. I essentially have the chainsaws that I need. If I acquire one here or there, I'll probably sell one here or there. Um, I definitely have plenty of chainsaws for myself, so I don't really need any more. The problem with me doing more builds means I have to offload them. So if I have to sell them to somebody, then I also have to support them because pretty much any chainsaw I sell, for whatever reason, no matter what you tell people, everybody assumes that there's a lifetime warranty with it. Does anybody else have that problem? Will I continue the live events? I guess. I've been doing them every night and I've been getting a kick out of it, so I guess why not, right? How would I get into dentistry and chainsaws? Well, I was into dentistry first. Um, it was been decided since I was in 8th grade that I was going to be a dentist, and I can tell that story someday. But um, what I tell everybody is I finished the 21st grade, and in residency, my wife, the long story short is my wife said, we need a house. Okay, so we got a house. And then that was 2006. 2012, Superstorm Sandy hit. So I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but Superstorm Sandy came up, and it was really one of the biggest storms to hit Connecticut and devastate Connecticut in a long time. And that actually wasn't the big storm that really wrecked everything for me. For me, we had right around there was a storm that hit in October. I believe it was on Halloween, and there was snow on Halloween, and there were still leaves on the trees. So we had a power outage that was just massive. There were so many trees down and so much trouble after that. So we had trees on the property that had come down, and I was like, yeah, it's time for me to get a chainsaw because I'm a homeowner now. I better get a chainsaw. So I went on Craigslist and I bought a 455 Rancher, and I used it and it worked right up until I broke it, and then I decided to fix it and I broke it more. And I decided, you know what, damn it, it's just bolts. I've got to get this. So I took it down, I tore it down. Um, didn't really know a whole lot about YouTube at that point, so I wasn't really doing that for YouTube purposes. But I tore it down, and then I bought another saw to fill the gaps in parts, and then I bought another saw to fill the gaps and parts in that, and then I bought multiple saws, and it just kept going. And it doesn't stop. How do you develop a relationship with the tree guys? Okay, that's also a good question. Larry, it's true, but see, you get into issues like, okay, so the 440 that I did for YouTube, okay, the 440 that I did for YouTube, the crank seized in like 3 cuts. Was that my fault? No, but then again, it wasn't the customer's fault either. So I have a hard time going back and forth and being like, okay, you're eating all of this. So it actually lost 2 cranks, and the reason it did was because I had a prototype cylinder head that was, best guess, it was cocked a little bit, and so the piston is always traveling like this, and the crank ate itself twice. Aftermarket cranks, the first one could have been bad crank. The second one was like, oh shoot. And Walt had the same issue on a 660 with the cross top end, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so what I ended up doing was I ended up buying a regular Farmer Tech top end and new crank and bearings and seals and all that stuff. I did it for a third time. I think I charged him like $50 or something like that, whatever it was, to do that. So we effectively shared the cost. But it was that any of that, was that my fault? Well, no, because I didn't turn the base on the cylinder head. But am I sort of still responsible for the parts? Sort of. It's really complex. It really is very, very complex when you're dealing with aftermarket parts that are a moving target. So the whole who buys what and whatnot is a very, very complex issue. Tree guys. How do you get hooked up with the tree guys? Okay, so back to the Superstorm Sandy and the how many people do we have here? Holy cow, 25 people listening to me talk. Oh my god. Okay, Superstorm Sandy and the October storm knocked down a bunch of trees. The most important tree that they knocked down was like an 80-foot tall Norway spruce in my folks' backyard. And this was like the tree that we climbed as kids, and it was a really sentimental tree. Unfortunately, today it's rotting, but that's beside the point. It was kind of the incentive for me to get a sawmill. I ended up researching for months sawmills because I was looking at them and thinking, geez, I'll bet that's a kick. I'll bet running a sawmill is a kick. And very few things in life are as much fun as you can possibly imagine. So, for instance, skiing. Skiing's fun. Is it as much fun as you can possibly imagine? No, not necessarily. Um, there are all kinds of things in life that are, you build up in your mind and like, this is going to be awesome. And then you're like, that was cool. Was it as good? No, but it was cool. All right. Using a bandsaw mill is just as much fun as you could possibly imagine. It really is one of those rare. I mean, I like chainsaws and I like cutting and whatnot, but using the bandsaw mill, that is a kick. So I ended up getting one, and Woodland Mills HM126, which is only a few grand. I mean, it's really not that expensive of a mill. All manual. It's no hydraulics, nothing. So nothing special. But there's nobody else around that has one. So I ended up going to one particular tree guy. He was working around the corner, and I talked with him for a little bit. One day, months later, I got a phone call. He's like, "Hey, do you want some logs?" Okay. He dumped me like 30 logs in my front yard. Okay, so now I got something to mill. So that's kind of how those relationships start. Also, uh, Steve, who I got hooked up, not Steve Robb and not my father in law, the other Steve. Um, Steve, who I got hooked up with, I got hooked up through a Craigslist sale of a chainsaw to one of his workers, Cam. So Cam was like, "Hey, I got to introduce you to my boss." So this guy Steve calls me and we chat. He's like, "I'm coming over to see your setup." Okay. So he came over and then we chatted, and then I went and saw what he's doing. Holy cow. Um, a hoarder of epic proportion. And um, so he's like, "I got to, you got to do this saw for me, this and that." And it just keeps going. So Craigslist, selling stuff, hooks up with people, start talking it up, find tree guys, make phone calls, and that's how. And I don't need to know lots of guys locally. I only need a few guys because they're crunching saws all the time. Wiped out Long Island pretty good. Sorry guys, I'm behind on the chat here. I've been talking. Halloween snow. My town delayed trick or treating a few days. Yep. A lot of flooding in Wisconsin. Yeah, there's water here like crazy. It's been raining in Connecticut like crazy. Not enough oil. Yeah, now, unfortunately, I think the guy was running plenty of oil. I do think that the cylinder head was at fault. I can't prove it, but I do think it was at fault. Walt had one out of square. I think mine was out of square too, just a different cylinder head. Ed McMahon. Oh dear. Okay. Have you ever used a short block? No. Um, do I need to? Do I feel the need to use a short block? No. If I'm going to order that, actually, somebody was mentioning parts from China. I think it was this morning. Getting parts from China is a pain. Yes. Finally, somebody gets it. So when I order stuff from China, I usually try to order as big of an order as I can. That way, it all gets shipped at once, and rather than ordering this part or that part or short block, I'll order a complete kit if I'm going to order something. So I don't. Getting back to that, I don't need any more chainsaws. If I order another complete kit, it means I have to offload it on somebody. So unless I have a commissioned build, like if you guys want me to build something for you, then we can talk. But unless I have a commissioned build, I probably won't be doing that. Plus, on on the plate here is plenty of stuff for me to do. You can't see my face. You want to see my face? I sold a friend a saw 3 years ago. He just cooked the saw. I think I should fix it out of my pocket. Told him not happening. Yeah, well. What are your thoughts on flossing? There is some division among dentists. What time? Well, what time do I come live? Usually in the evenings. Um, I don't have a set time. Uh, this is not planned. It's not like I'm planning this, and it's not like I'm taking this super serious. I know that you guys are taking this seriously, which is awesome, but it's not like I'm taking this super seriously. Um, Flossing and I were 6 if used properly. Started building an arc. Good. Um, Flossing. This is not a dental channel. Uh, I think. Well, what are your opinions on hand washing? Does hand washing prevent the spread of disease? Probably. Does flossing help you keep yourself clean? Probably. There are what is it? 5% of people never get dental disease. Most people believe they're the 5%. As it turns out, dental disease is very, very common. And it gets really expensive in a hurry if you don't do the little stuff. So there are definitely people on the planet that do not need to floss. As far as dental disease goes, they don't need to floss. Would they be more hygienic if they did? Yeah. But do they need to? They might not ever get a cavity. They might not ever get gum disease there. One of the problems with dental disease is that, especially gum disease, it doesn't hurt. And what they're coming to the conclusion of is that what is in your mouth does affect the rest of your body. How? We don't exactly know. But people with heart disease do indeed tend to have bad bacteria in their mouth, i.e., periodontal disease, gum disease. So, is there a cause and effect relationship? Probably. I don't think anybody's proved it one way or another yet. But if flossing helps lower your risk of disease or treat the disease, then if you're at risk for it, you got to do it. Now, that gets back for the risk benefit thing. I know people that brush too much. In fact, most of my patients, especially people that were born in the 40s and 50s, were told, you've got to brush and floss and like a maniac. And while that's likely true for a lot of people, there is such thing as brushing too much. Does anybody here know any medical procedure that has no side effects? I know I'm getting off on a tangent here, but are there any medical procedures anywhere that have no side effects? I don't know of any. I'm reading comments, sorry. A tail light warranty. So, brushing your teeth is a medical procedure. Believe it or not, you are doing something medical to yourself. Brushing your teeth falls into that category. You are taking an abrasive on a brush and scrubbing your teeth. Now, at least in most toothpaste cases, not all of them, but in most of them, you're taking an abrasive and scrubbing your teeth. Now, that has some very significant benefits, and it has some sneaky drawbacks. So, that toothpaste does not know what the current pH of your mouth is. So, for instance, if you've just had a glass of lemonade, lemonade has a lot of acid in it. Lemonade, coffee, oranges, whatever. What do you think that acid did to your teeth? It etched it, right? Now you take an abrasive, and now you scrub that layer away. What'd you just do? You have a garage tour? Yeah, I'll give you a garage tour. This is my basement. I'm a garage. So people need to be careful about the pH in their mouth when they brush their teeth. I'll just say that and let you talk to your own dentist about that, because this is not a dental channel. I'm not trying to give dental advice. All things in life are a compromise on some level. Yes. And I do not wash my hands as much as a lot of people do either. You do want to be careful because there are good bacteria in your hands, and if you tear that off, that's not good either. All right, everybody wants a garage tour. Some people, well, it's not a garage. It's a really, really messy basement room. And so I'll take you on the fiber optic field trip here. Hang on. So, let's see here. Literally, I mean, you can see all the boxes. Holy cow. This is actually my 359 box up there. I'm collecting it just in case I get to build it. I had cases, but didn't work. My nearly brand new spinner, 372 parts. $385 that I just built. Looks pretty good. Cases are a little worn, but won't be fine. That down there is an 8-channel amplifier that I built forever and a day ago. Back in dental school, actually. And that is a really nifty power supply. Thanks to my friend Bill for turning me on to that a long time ago. Back when I was actually building amplifiers. Here's the 394, just sitting here. And my crappy grinder. My box of stuff there for maintenance. 394 parts. Stuff. Nail guns and the bearing puller and tools and whatever else. I luckily looks like the Heath kit. Not a Heath kit. Although that's another interesting topic. I'd love to get into some DIY audio stuff, but I have not gotten back there because I'm stuck doing this. I do like the Harbor Freight set of Allens here. And this I picked up at Pep Boys for really cheap, and it's a really, actually, pretty nice set of screwdrivers and all kinds of other little things like awls and tiny screwdrivers. So, pretty nifty set there. Parts. Just tons of parts. If you want to see something cool on amps, so we'll go look at that in just a second. But my toolbox, this top one here is kind of like the miscellaneous drawer for screwdrivers and whatever else. Dremels, grinder, this, that, and taps, parts, my long Allens, and all the miscellaneous Torx drivers. While I have 21, oh, I did have 20 people here. If anybody wants to support the channel, there's two ways, well, a few ways to do it. One is click the link in the description of most of my videos to go to HL Supply. The other way is if anybody wants t-shirts. It's not really supporting my channel, but I did the run of t-shirts. Hang on. The t-shirts have as is on the back. So I don't have the super large sizes, so I think I have small, medium, and large hanging around. Those are $20 plus shipping, so it's $27.25 for priority mail shipping. And the other way to support the channel is to buy the tools, obviously. So when I get them in stock, we're hopefully pretty soon. So what else I have? Parts. Another saw. That's for Steve. Still bare feet. The blower, which I'm waiting for parts on. More 394 parts. What the heck else? Another toolbox. So if anybody wants to see anything for amplifiers, check this out. These two are just sitting here. The dental tool is the Marathon handpiece. The handpiece is fine. I don't have double X in the shirts yet, William. I have to sell what I did buy in order to place another order to fund the next order. And I'm not making any money on the shirts, so yeah. Anyway, these are Nelson Pass Aleph 2s, in case anybody wants to see. So 1,000-watt transformer, nice caps. I think 8 chips per side, so 16 a channel. So these are monoblock. And they cook 400 watts of heat passively, no fans. In case anybody wants to see some plumbing. I don't know if anybody's seen this, but sorry, this is a little dark. I do solar hot water too, so yeah. Need tube amps? No, I don't, because those things run on voltages that are not safe. I have no need for that. Anyway. Yeah, I've got all kinds of projects going. I got way too much stuff going. I know I need a shed video. I'll get the shed video one of these days. But the shed, stupid shed, is out in a spot where I can't get to it without having a loss of signal. So let me plug back in here. Anybody want to see anything else? So yeah, the dental tool holds up good, but the individual heads don't. So I may actually buy the cartridges that actually go in the heads and see if I can replace those. Other questions, comments, anything else you guys want to see? Do I get the bits from Fleabag? Yes. Tim, I need to work. Seeburg M100B amp. I'm not familiar with it, so I will let you guys play with that. How did I learn how to work on saws? I broke them. I broke my 455 Rancher, and then I tried to fix it, and then I just kept going. So a lot of this is trial and error, but a lot of this also is reading. So I have been participating on Arborist site since probably 2013, 2014. I don't know. I'd have to go look that up. But I've literally been on Arborist site and OPE pretty much every hour of every day for 4 years now. And I've been reading as much as I can, and so I end up gathering all that information and hopefully putting it in one place, and that's here on my YouTube channel. So I like doing the saw stuff, but the truth is I've got other things to do. But the saw stuff has just been so habit forming. I can't seem to get away from it. I literally have half an acre and basically no trees to cut on my property, yet I have more chainsaws than most guys in town, probably. I have more chainsaws than most tree services in town. And sharper chains. Yes, I count the strokes. Technically, you're supposed to measure the teeth. Logically, take care. You have a good night. Chainsaw fever. Yeah, kind of. I guess you can call it that. It's habit. It's just, it's here. It's just, every time I empty my basement, I go, if I had parts available to me immediately, like I go down to the steel dealer, I'd have stuff done, gone, in, out, gone. But instead, I've got all this stuff hanging around, and I gotta have my 372 parts in here because I'm working on 372s, and I gotta have my 394 parts in here because I'm working on the 394. So if I don't have those parts in here, then I go out to the shed and get them. Yeah, I do lots of YouTube, William. I really, I love it for all the other stuff that I do. Cars, everything. It's why I got into it, because why I got into the YouTube stuff anyway was because I ended up doing all these projects around the house, and I was always doing something unique. And if there was a wheel bearing video on YouTube that or that wasn't there, rather, on a particular car, and I had that car, then I'd make the video. So, not great videos. I don't have great um, production value in my videos. I have to apologize for that. But I try to do at least thorough stuff so that people don't go, holy cow, I was missing that one last crucial step, Yeah, it's true, Ken. If you have too much stock, then you end up in real trouble. I have a problem just selling things. I probably need to sell off all my parts one of these days and just get rid of everything and just maintain the saws as I have them and then move on to everything else in my life. Well, Ken, the other thing probably that that I'm really trying to do is only work on certain chainsaws. So I work with the tree guys that have certain stuff, and then I only work on that stuff. You know, do I have kids? Yeah, I got 2 kids. And yes, content over production value. So when I first started, I was just trying to get content out because what I was doing was the first of its type of video. And now YouTube's become, even more popular over the past few years. But a lot of people have just got some of the most useless stuff on there. Amazing how useless. But more. Do I have kids? Yes, and they watch YouTube. So the kids will sit on YouTube and watch some of the kids stuff, and people have just thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of subscribers for some of these kids videos. Millions of views. How is that possible? And it's just useless stuff. Ken, you and I have the same problem. It's called saying no. It's hard. It's time for me to call it a night, so I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Does anybody have any questions before? Does YouTube pay decent? No. Again, if you want to support the channel, the easiest way is to, if you need something, buy it from HL Supply through my link on most of my other videos. So if you watch one of my chainsaw videos, like a repair video or whatever, there should be a link in the description of the video, which actually has a link to HL Supply. If you do go there, then I do get credit. There's that. And obviously, buying the tools helps support the channel too. William, I'll put you on the list for a double XL shirt. Actually, do me a favor and email it to me. Your request. Thanks, Robert. What I do is when anybody sends me a request for tools, I just immediately send them back just the form letter. So don't think that I'm trying to be impersonal with you, but I send you back the form letter. Make sure you read the whole thing before contacting me back. And usually I'll contact you back within the day if you email me. If I don't, it means that you got the wrong email. Will it work on HL if you have a dealer account? I don't know. That's an interesting question. Yeah, the prices are outlined good in the form letter, but I'm hoping I can keep prices the same. I should be able to with the new mechanic. I'm literally anticipating a response from the mechanic any day now that he's hopefully got at least the first round of stuff done. But if anybody clicks on the link and you buy something at HL Supply, it tracks you for like a month. So if you've clicked on the link today and like in November you go and buy something, I still get credit for it. Other questions before I head to bed? I'm getting a kick out of this live stream stuff. This is crazy. What kind of tools do I sell? It's crankcase assembly tools for chainsaws. So if you want to, you can look at my other videos and see. But I've got. Can somebody post a link to the crankcase tools? I have developed a more or less universal set of crankcase assembly tools. So when you put together a crankcase for a chainsaw, you don't have to use heat and cooling and all that other stuff. You can just do it at room temperature. Well, welcome, William. Just the same. If you need flywheel pullers, H&L cheap. Tim, I'm going to have to get one of those myself. I just need to do it. Take care, Patrick. Other questions, comments before I go? Don't worry, we'll do this again, so you don't have to, no rush. Okay, I'm out. If anybody needs me, they can email me. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Yeah, Robert, you if you've used hot and cold before, you're gonna love the tools. Night, y'all.